We have in studio with us, of course, our Rise News analyst, Mr. Dayo Sobowale. He's here with us. Mr. Sobowale, thank you so much. The topic of the day, obviously, protests to end bad governance and counter-protests happening. You've heard from our correspondents, Ferdinand Tokumbo Yetunji. What do you make of what's happening around the nation?
Well, let me first of all admit that I'm shocked, at the presence of so many youths. Restless, restive. And I have also seen some people supporting the government too. But you can see that the enthusiasm of those people can never match the zeal with these hunger protesters are going about their things. But I must mention one thing I saw in Port Harcourt when Governor Fubara addressed that large crowd. I was impressed with that. That's the village democracy at work for the first time. You see a governor talking to people at ease. Not many Nigerian governors can dare to do that. I doff my hat to him. And you see, they listened to him. And he said he was not afraid because he spoke their language. If our leaders had been speaking to people like that, see the gap, the gap in communication that has led to this protest will not have come to play. But you see, I must admit, the youths are very much involved. Of course. And you can see they are discontented. They are not happy. Government must do something to arrest the situation. I don't know if the tempo will gather. You see, like you said the other, it may gather pace, rise in momentum, or it may fizzle out. Depends. And it depends on how the police handle it. The police were getting incensed in Kaduna. I could see that policeman was trying to sound provoked. That is part of the risk, in terms of security and in terms of a breakdown of law and order. But as things stand, you can see that people are angry. People are angry, they are hungry. And they're sending a clear democratic message to government. And it's better government listens.
Now, talking about some of these messages, I've seen a number of placards and a number of interviews today where protesters are saying, we don't want palliatives. That was one of the reactions when Governor Fubara, in all earnesty, said, I'll give you guys something for pure water and bread. And our reporter, our correspondent on the ground said the people were upset. They were furious because they said, we don't want handouts. We don't want palliatives. What's your take on this? Because, the government has extended palliatives regularly in all good faith as a way to try and bring ease and some succor to people in this situation. But the people are saying it's not palliatives we're looking for. How would you unpack this?
Look, you must separate the language of politics from the language of protest. When he said that, I watched it. He said it in jest. That even when you say, I can buy you, they did not sound, it was not a message as such. It was, you see, the language of the moment. Get me? If they were angry, they would have pursued him and said, if they were of your view and using the language of what led to this, they would have stoned him. But he was in their midst, and he had rapport.
So it's context.
He had rapport, yes. He had rapport with them. So that's why he was able to communicate. So I don't see it in that light. And if leaders can go into the midst of people protesting like that and still be able to create rapport, that's democracy. That's a good politician. Get me? People should cultivate that sort of habit. Instead of when people want to get elected, they go around everywhere. And when they get elected, they create a barrier between them and the electorate. That is part of what has led to this. But the face of anger, discontentment amongst our youth, is just manifest before us. We have to take care of that.
Of course. Now, Mr. Sobowale, I remember a few conversations ago when I asked you about, I always make reference to this, when I asked you about your advice to this administration, you said, move faster.
Yes.
Now, this is day one of this anticipated protest. are you content with the response or the lack thereof from the center? Do you think it's important that a page be borrowed from what we've seen with Governor Simfubara, that we see something like that from the center?
Well, you want the president to go to the square, yeah?
I'm not saying we should go to the square. I mean addressing the protesters.
Not the protesters. It should address the nation. That's
part of
that. If he addresses that with everywhere, he needs to address the nation. And I think that was what the former secretary to the government was saying day before yesterday. But instead of that, all the ministers came to appease the nation. But the president needs to talk to the nation. And I hope he will do that. Because this cannot be going on a daily basis. They said 10 days. I don't think it should last 10 days. If I should end today, because the message is clear. Well, the message is clear. If I have my way to end today, then let government have compunction, conscience, and know that something is amiss, and that people may be waving at them at times, but they are not happy. That's the message, and that is democracy. The electorate is disgruntled and wants government to act fast, like yesterday.
Like yesterday.
Yes.
Well, you know, one thing that's definitely worthy of noting is that maybe if the unemployment rate was a little bit lower and people had jobs to go to, we'd be guaranteed that by tomorrow people would go back to work. But I guess that's another issue that needs to be addressed. I'd like to look at the disparity. I mean, it's very early. If this is a 10-day protest, anticipated 10-day protest, we're only halfway through the first day. But so far, we've seen a lot of activity from Kaduna, Kano State, Bauchi, Borno. I've seen some videos from Gombe State as well, where we've seen huge numbers of people coming out. And some of those, as we saw earlier in our reporting, have turned quite violent. Now, we also took some stories from Imo State, where the streets are virtually empty. People are sitting at home. Cross River State, people are sitting at home. What do you make of this disparity that we're seeing in people coming out? You know, huge numbers so far. Like I said, it's early days, so I don't want to read too much into it. But at this early stage, is it something worthy of noting?
Of course. You mentioned Borno, you mentioned Kano, Kaduna. See, if you look at the electoral map of Nigeria, in terms of votes, those are high votes area. Where any party coming into power, including this APC in power, they got most of their votes from those areas. But these are areas prone to violence. These are hardcore north, northwest. These are the areas prone to violence. You get me? Jihadism, the climatological effect of the Sahel. People coming down south looking for food. And these marauders, kidnappers, these people will not allow people to work on their farms, but have driven them to internally disposed persons' camps. These are the areas. And you have a lot of youths there that are not going to school. You saw the faces of those people now. The height. These are children, youths. These are children, these are youths. These are people who should be in school. But if you see their appearances, you know that they are not well looked after. And you know, we have always discussed this. You have the largest number of out-of-school children literally in the world. That is the result of poverty and lack of education. They say the devil findeth work for the idle mind or hand. That is why that is so.
Mr. Sobowale, earlier on you stated that if you had your way, this protest would end today because the message has been passed.
Yes.
But from your assessment of the federal government, does this administration strike you as a listening administration? Because when we were interviewing one of the protesters, I believe that was in River State, he did say that in the past they have protested against numerous actions like the renovation of the vice president's the building, villa, thank you, the villa, and that they were not listened to. So do you think that this administration, from the past responses and what we're seeing today, do you think that this message that you're saying it's been passed, do you think it's one that will be listened to and acted on?
Well, I'm not a government advisor, but I will tell you one thing. This message has been sent. And I've been saying that government has no time on its hand, must act fast. So it's not a matter of listening. If the government had listened and performed and acted, people would not be on the streets. You get me? So it is performance now, not listening. Listening has not yielded results. That is why appeasement came in. So the government must bridge the gap between performance and non-performance. And when the president came in, he said his ministers that he will be reappraising them from time to time. He should do fast appraisal. Fast appraisal. And you see, the government has been trying to appease. But you see, I will not say the appeal has fallen on deaf ears, because many people, maybe it will have been worse than this. You get me? But people have listened. They have appealed. People have listened to government. If government is listening to people sufficiently now, I will not know. But government needs to up its performance and bridge the communication gap between the rich and the poor, and between the hosts of the electorate and they who are in power. That's it.
And I was talking about bridging relationships. One development that I think is noteworthy is the fact that over the past few days, we've seen, can I call them elders, coming out in their numbers, whether they be cabinet ministers, religious leaders, even traditional rulers as well, coming out appealing to young people, appealing that they do not embark on this protest. And my question to you is, seeing that this protest has still taken place, and in quite a big outcome, do you think there is now a disconnect between, I want to call them the elders, and the youth? Is there, a new relationship developing there?
I don't agree with your assessment that the protest has been huge. This is Lagos. Everywhere is dry. Some people have locked up their shops. Maybe they are not sure what will happen. So I won't say it's a successful protest. You get me? But the message has been sent. And as for those traditional rulers, elders, and so on, that's the status quo. If there is a revolution, they will suffer. They will be the targets. So it's self-interest and self-preservation for them to appeal to people. But then they should urge government to be more responsive and to make sure its promises get fulfilled faster. Time is not on its side. With all the goodwill it has, government so far has tremendous goodwill, but it should not waste it and consummate it in such a way that it has the goodwill and maybe the affection of the people.
I like the fact that with each response you're saying faster, faster, yes, which is music to my ears.
Speed is of essence.
Of course. Now, Mr. Sobowale, with all the interviews we've had today, we've seen numerous demands. One that reminded me of you was when we saw a banner that said they wanted education grants, not student loans.
Yeah.
We've seen other ones that said reverse the electricity tariff, bring back subsidy. From all these demands that are being made, do you think there are any that are far-fetched, outrageous, or are they all reasonable demands?
They are reasonable. Why are you questioning that?
I'm asking your perception.
From their pains.
Of course.
That's why we've been discussing that. We've discussed anything you see on that placard. I don't think there's any that we have not discussed there. Mm-hmm. Those are the pains of the Nigerian people. And that is the reality of our politics. Those things are not being met. That is why people are complaining. We are analyzing why. But then they are the receiving end. You get me? And they are saying that they don't want to die of hunger or poverty. That is why the protest is on. That is why government is in place to give them succor.
The reason I asked why, if you thought that any of them were outrageous, because if you're saying that
They
they're
are
all
not.
reasonable, then this should be easy for the government to attend to since they're crucial. What do you think?
The government has been explaining why all along, and have been appeasing that the results will come later. Like I said, you see, they say they are laying a foundation. You get it? You know, Rome was not built in a day. Some of these things will take time to come out. That is why I said speed is of essence for them to make sure the good things they are put on the ground manifest in time. So people get too angry or too hungry. Yes.
All right, I want to retract what I said earlier. In my list of places where I said there wasn't much activity, I'd added Cross River State. We're looking at images from Calabar this morning where it was a slow start, but it seems, young people, these boys look extremely young, have come out to protest. We see a little bit of tension happening between the young men and some men in uniform. So we do hope that is kept under control. That's the #end governance protest as we know it in Calabar. But now still speaking on this protest, Mr. Sobowale, one thing we have seen is the happening of the protest, the planned protest that we had been sensitized about, and the emergence of counter-protests to that protest. What's your take on these pockets of counter-protests we're seeing? Is this strange to you? Is this something you expected? Some people are saying it was expected. What are your thoughts?
You see, what you are seeing, this is not a film. It's not a film. It's not entertainment.
No.
It is public outcry. You get me? And I'm not happy with it at all. Situations, should not degenerate to this, whereby people take to the streets and start lambasting the government they voted to power. You get me? So that is why I say I hope and pray that it fizzles out today, and that maybe the president addresses the nation. Get me? It is not a spectacle that should endure or should extend further. So, and you see, you have to be careful how you interpret what you see. You know, these are, we don't have a universal view or helicopter view where you can simultaneously see everywhere. So it is as when they present them that we see them and talk about them. And our views will not coincide or what we see.
Okay. Well, in the spirit of making sure we get context, let's cross to Owerri live now. We have our correspondent live with us in Owerri to give us an update on what's happening over there.
Saturday, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday. Please confirm you can hear me.
Thank you.
Great. I'll take that as a yes. Please fill us in on what's going on in Owerri, the Imo State capital.
Well, like I told us in the morning, Owerri is very calm, very peaceful. There is nothing like any protest of any sort in Owerri. Right now, security operatives have stationed themselves in various points, strategic points, to ensure that they maintain law and order in Owerri metropolis. And the roads are very empty. Vehicular movements are very scanty. People are indoors, probably because of the protests which they have not joined. Socio-economic activities have been paralyzed. Banks under lock and key. Markets closed. And the people are very few, only very scanty, very few people you can see on the streets of Owerri. And right now, it's still very peaceful. Nothing is happening seriously in this area.
Thank you so much for that, Saturday. I know I watched your live cross into the morning show, and you had said that, well, people of Owerri and Imo State are used to sitting at home. Are you still attributing that particular phenomenon to the amount of, shall I say, inaction taking place in the streets today? Or is it that people are just not invested in this particular protest?
Well, in Southeast and particularly in Imo State, protests have not been the issue on ground. Like yesterday, the state government, His Excellency Governor Hope Uzodinma, addressed the people. He told them that there is no need embarking on protest. The reason being that Mr. President Bola Tinubu is doing great, working around the clock in ensuring that the hardship Nigerians are facing are ameliorated. And he said, sooner or later, that will be witnessed in this country. So there is no need embarking on protest, according to him. And then he went further to say that those who are organizing this protest, where are their children? That their children are abroad, rejoicing, while they are using parents, youths or children of other parents to embark on protest. So he advised them not to embark on protest, and that may be the reason, one of the reasons why there is no protest in Imo State. And more so, yesterday and day before yesterday, the unknown government unleashed terror on the people, killing many, injuring many. That also could be a contributory factor that made them not to come out today because of fear, because of panic. That should be the reasons behind it.
Thank you, Saturday. But from your assessment, of course, you're on ground. Do you anticipate that this will be the same, that things will play out the same way tomorrow and the day after? Because we know that this is scheduled to hold for 10 days. Do you anticipate that some people might decide to come out tomorrow, if not today, or do you think it will stay the same?
Well, I feel maybe before evening, people will start coming out. Like right now, there is an event organized by the state government where they want to distribute palliatives from the federal government. That will take place any moment from now. Perhaps because of that palliatives, people will now come out so that they will partake in it. And also, there is also another event going on right now. They call it Health Insurance Scheme. People are also will attend that program so that they will be able to participate in that program. So hopefully, towards evening or tomorrow morning, Owerri, the Imo State capital, will become agog again, as it used to be.
All right. Well, we'll be looking forward to those developments and seeing how the people of Imo State continue to relate, or rather choose not to relate, with this day of protest, first day of protest, Saturday. Ochia, thank you so much for your contribution. Right. Now, elsewhere in Nigeria, in response to the ongoing protests against the economic hardship in Borno State, the government has imposed a curfew in the state capital, Maiduguri. According to a statement released by the Borno State Police Command, the curfew is aimed at restoring law and order in the state. So that's a 24-hour curfew imposed in Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State. Mr. Sobowale, is this something that you would have foreseen happening after seeing the level of engagement and breakdown of law and order in some places that we've seen in some of the northern states today?
Borno State is the theater for Boko Haram. Get me? And with protests going on, without protests, they bomb people, bomb places, bomb police barracks. So I think they are playing safe to have put the army on alert. Because you are talking of protests, it could be either by terrorists and more violent people. So I think they are playing safe. Right.
Okay, great, Mr. Sobowale. But based on what you heard from our correspondent, Saturday Ochia from Owerri, how do you assess what's playing out there today?
That's right. I was going to ask you to ask me a question. You see, on Mondays, in the Southeast, they are used to this IPOB sit at home. Get me? So maybe they'll just reenact that. But you bet they can stomach it for a day, not for 10 days, or even 2-3 days. I expect people to come out tomorrow. You see, I think what has happened today, like in Lagos, there's a few cars, a few shops, and so on. By tomorrow, people will come out. Get me? But then it depends on the corporate institutions now, like banks and so on. If those ones open, then people will come out. People will come out. It's an unfolding situation, and hopefully it will not degenerate into violence. I think government should move faster to curtail it, and thereafter accelerate the palliatives, not necessarily money or whatever. The things it has promised to put on the ground for people to assuage their hunger, and then assuage their anger as well, which are very manifest on the streets now, especially with youths. It's a very ominous sign.
The Deputy Speaker of the House, Benjamin Kalu, had made a statement where he urged the Igbo people not to come out to protest. Do you think this has any impact whatsoever in Imo State?
But they didn't come out.
They didn't come out, but I'm just saying, because we're trying to analyze, what
it's
it...
impactful. You see, like somebody I was discussing with on my way here was saying, maybe even the sit at home is more impactful than the protest. You get me? But then for how long will people just sit at home? There are people who are living on the streets, you get me? And they will want to go to work and all that. But even in Lagos, nobody gave another for sit at home. But that's the first sign I've seen. Who sat at home? Even in the Southeast, they are used to the IPOB thing. So they just reenacted it on a day that is not Monday. But hopefully tomorrow they will come out. Come on.
Okay. Well, Mr. Sobowale, I'm just wondering if you can go back in time, if you could rewrite the events that we're seeing playing out today, or steps that might have been prevented or not taken, or different approaches that could have been made. What would you have done differently that might have allowed us to see things play out in a more just to be a normal day in Nigeria? How would this have been prevented?
Okay, you should remind me. There are some things I've said there. I said government should intervene.
Yeah, you have.
Government should intervene. And you see what they did on Dangote. That's government intervention. And you see all these rising prices, foreign exchange, alarming rates vis-a-vis the Naira. Government should intervene. And the president said, if it is necessary, he will intervene. I don't think he has to intervene more enough. You get me? In terms of, we can have price control. Who said we cannot have price control? People cannot just be selling things, things people need to exist at an exorbitant rate. It will create hunger, and that is what is manifest now. So government should intervene more and not be dancing to the tune of the IMF and this free market economy. Because the IMF conditionalities have no human face. That is what you are seeing now. It makes human beings hungry and angry. And you have seen that. Government should arrest that. Intervene in terms of pricing, intervene in terms of drugs, cost for drugs and things, transportation. There are some things that all of us will enjoy. Those are public goods. That government intervene in terms of subsidized public goods. Because even in Europe, they subsidize their government. You get me? I once read somewhere that you see, the capitalism they started with is different from what is on the ground now. Get me? The government was more involved in getting the welfare of the people right. It is the failure of that that you see in the faces of those youths, restive and restless, and God forbid that they get violent. So government should, you can call it socialistic, I don't mind. Let government intervene, let prices come down, let cost of living come down. Then let people have food to eat. Then they won't be hungry, they won't be angry.
Then we can talk.
Yes.
Intervention.
Yeah.
Mr. Sobowale, that point has definitely been driven home. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure, on this historic day to be able to, to rub minds with you and get your perspective on all of the developments. And of course, we continue to pray for peace.